Welcome to the Erica Show. I'm your host, Erica King, and today we have a special guest with us. He is somebody that I really look up to in the DeFi space. He's inspiring. Mariano's here with us, and I'm so happy to have him here because it took me some time to have him on board. So please welcome Mariano. Hi.
Hello. Very happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. You've been in the DeFi space for a long time and also in the Ethereum space. So I always, follow your tweets, of course, and it's so inspiring. And your talks, we, last met in DEF CON in Osaka, and I think, I was really inspired by your speech. I think a lot of people were as well. So, through this interview, I'd love to kind of take a step back and go through your journey. And I'm sure there's a lot of insights on the way. So for viewers, for maybe the Korean community who might not know who you are, can you give us a brief intro to kind of, introduce yourself?
Certainly. My name is Mariano Conti. Like you said, I've been in DeFi for a long time before it was even called DeFi. I was the head of smart contracts at the Maker Foundation. So I helped create the stablecoin DAI and the Maker protocol, along with hundreds of people, right? And that has been like my greatest accomplishment, being a part of Maker, which I was for like 4 years. And in late 2020, I left the project and, became an angel investor and just a friend of Ethereum, I like to say. So I stay close to the community, but I'm not with any project.
Certainly, as I said before, like I think you've become like one of the gurus, and you've been there since day one, day zero probably. So I think you were kind of like the first to go into both DeFi and also the DAO kind of structure as well. So and those are now hottest topics in the space. But I think like when it was the origin, like people rarely know about the origin story as well. So I'd love to hear like about how you became involved and, how you fell into the rabbit hole in the beginning. How did you get started in crypto in the beginning?
Well, like most Argentinians, I discovered Bitcoin as a way to escape capital controls. And, the high inflation that we have in the country, usually 50% plus inflation a year. So my story is very similar to a lot of people. I started getting paid in Bitcoin as a way to protect my investments. Because here in Argentina, people buy US dollars to hedge against inflation. And I was no different. And one of the ways to be able to acquire dollars, because everything was regulated, was using Bitcoin. So I started getting paid in Bitcoin. But then, like some people, I'm an engineer, so I got interested in everything that was happening. And one of the things that was happening in 2015 was Ethereum. And I saw it as many did as, having a lot of the good qualities of Bitcoin, but then being programmable money. The opportunities were really endless. You could do anything that your imagination let you do. So I dove right into Ethereum as a holder. And then in 2016, I started working at Maker just by chance. My boss at the time, I was resigning, and then he was like, no, stay, but as a contractor, because I discovered a new project and it's Maker. So I worked as a subcontractor for 6 months, and then I liked it a lot and spoke to Rune, the co-founder of Maker, and told him, hey, hire me directly because I want to work for you. And that was it pretty much. So the beginnings were very common to everybody, just being a holder of crypto. But then luckily the the builder side of me saw that I could be involved in, more than just holding an asset and being able to program it and to build something with it.
That's amazing. I mean, I think you also mentioned this story, like when you first began, because you were, in Argentina and you faced those issues in your speech at DEF CON. And that was very like personal and also inspiring. But like, I think the macro environment affects a lot in your decisions and your kind of situation wise. I mean, for example, in Korea, like we all use mobile for applications so easily. And I think those situations make it like kind of different from country to country, like what needs there are. And, so in your case, I think it was very clear what you needed. And it really kind of made you straight dive into crypto. You showed exceptional love for Ethereum, I mean, even now, but what makes it so special? I mean, you mentioned a little bit about it, but maybe you can talk a little bit more on why you are sticking to it, like why you're so in love with the Ethereum like community, and yeah, love to hear that as well.
I want to preface by saying that I am extremely biased. I mean, Ethereum is where I've been for years, and also, where I put in thousands of hours and years of my life, and also, most of my economic stake is in Ethereum. So take whatever I say with a grain of salt. But really, I find it to be out of all of the competing chains, I find it to be the most decentralized. Number one, which is extremely important, in my opinion, for what we do. I think decentralization has to be upfront in everything, like as much as possible. And that comes with a lot of problems as well, right? Decentralization is not cheap and it's not easy. And we see those trade-offs with other blockchains, but that's why we see people every day working to fix all of these things through rollups, through scalability solutions, right? But without sacrificing the core tenets of what makes Ethereum. And of course, the community, that is also, I would say, along with decentralization, the community is what drives me. Almost everything that I see starts on Ethereum. The trends begin there. Art is almost in every case valued in Ether. We've seen works of art being auctioned, and it was okay. Here's it's in dollars, it's in yen, it's in euro, and it's in Ether, and you can use it as money. So I call it Ether is the blockchain of art, the blockchain of culture, and hopefully that will continue to be the case. So what I see is that everything starts there on Ethereum. Ethereum is the one that sets the culture and the guidelines. And also, and I say this all the time, all of my friends are on Ethereum. So why go somewhere else? It's like, we said with Cami Russo from the Defiant, it's like Ethereum is a party that all your friends are there and you don't want to leave. Like maybe there's different booths somewhere else, or the music is too loud sometimes, but it's like good enough that you're already here and you're gonna stay.
That's a good point. FYI, I'm launching a token on optimism, but I mean, I think that the reasoning was the same, like why I decided to launch, and Ethereum is the party's there. I think that's where the existing community, like the most, I guess, the crowd, the most powerful, I guess. And so it was pretty simple reasoning for me. So I guess that's,
and that is incredible, because optimism is, an optimistic rollup, which is Ethereum, because it inherits, the security of Ethereum, and that is totally what everybody should be doing right now. They should be launching on Optimism, on Arbitrum, on the CK Syncs of the world, and try to move away from L1 as much as possible. Because it is not why the end game was never to use Ethereum the way we've been using it for years, just as a sending $10 worth of value to somebody else. That was never, we used it that way because we were extremely early. Even now we're, how old is Ethereum? It's 6-7 years old. It's
a baby.
But, yeah. So looking forward to your token.
I mean, I think it's going to be fit for the future as well. And when L2 start talking to each other as well, I think that would be really cool to have to see in the future. So I thought, okay, let's look in the longer term. So hopefully it goes well. It's running pretty well. We're test running it, so it's running well. So, looking forward to the launch soon. In your quotes, I think it was on Twitter, but you said that a lot of newcomers are willing to sacrifice decentralization for more speed or cheaper fees. And I think it's in line with what you just talked about. And, in your opinion, I mean, what's the true spirit of Web3? I think people define it in different ways, different definitions, but, some projects, I mean, what about those projects that choose the less decentralized options, then coming back to Ethereum when it's more stabilized or something like that? Do you think those are like still unacceptable options, or what's your take on that?
No. I'm not, I focus on Ethereum, but I don't close my eyes and say anything other than Ethereum or its scaling solutions is a scam or anything. No, nothing like that. It's just that I don't focus on them, because even then there's not enough hours in the day to follow everything that's going on, right? So
true.
I choose to focus on a certain number of technologies that interest me. And if I don't know about anything else, doesn't mean that I think that it's a scam or that it's not worthy of trying out. It's just that I don't know about it. But no, of course, I think we should all strive for as much decentralization as possible, like I say, but this is the real world and concessions are made all the time. And as long as I think we have a clear path towards where we're going, there are many different ways to get there. And here in Argentina, a lot of people started using DeFi on Ethereum 2018, 2019, 2020, and then they were priced out, as so many people were when gas prices increased, and you couldn't justify sending a $100 transaction or sending $100 to somebody when transaction fees were $80 or so. People started moving to other chains. They moved to Binance Smart Chain, then they moved to whatever now, to Avalanche or Phantom or Solana, and now not even that. Like, people send each other money through Binance, the exchange, not even Binance, the chain, right? So all that is changing is a number in Binance database. There's not even a blockchain transaction going on, but people find it acceptable because it still gets them what they want, which is, in the end, access to dollars and trying to get away from the Argentine peso. I'm not going to go and tell these people, hey, what you're doing is on a centralized database. Of course not. Of course not. I hope that what we're building will become accessible and cheap in the future, because I do think that decentralization is one of those things that a lot of people don't think about until it happens to them, that they get screwed over. Like it happened here with the banks in 2001. Everybody's money was frozen and the government took it.
Yeah.
And that can always happen on a centralized system. Maybe it never will, but there are occasions where it does happen. So that's why, I try to stay humble and not be too preachy about it, because this is the real world. But what I do, I strive for decentralization when I can.
Yeah, it is definitely the ultimate goal that we should all strive for. But in the way, I think the process, there might be some other choices, and then ultimately, we do have to go in that direction. I was always curious about Maker. I know Do pretty well, and also Rune. I talked to Rune, but I was trying to get him on the show, but couldn't until But yeah, I really wanted to hear like how it all began and how you got involved, and then because like hundreds of people working together, it's literally the ultimate like origin DAO. The structure and how it moved together in that like relatively smooth direction. I think that's really impressive. So I would love to hear like some behind stories if you have any that you might share with us.
Well, Maker was the best 4 years of my life. When I joined in 2016, the project probably was around a year old. Maybe a little bit more, but not too much. And it was still not a lot of people. So I joined as a developer, outsourced developer, along with a friend of mine from Argentina. And we got to learn everything. We had to learn smart contracts. We had to learn the UI patterns that were being used. And then it was just a year of learning and helping out where we could to release the first version of Maker, which was a single collateral DAI, what is now known as Sai, which is a previous version that is not really used anymore. And it was a time of pure creation. And I say that everybody that was at Maker at the time, I think they got a crash course of everything that means developing on Ethereum. We were so early that, a lot of the tools, Maker has its own set of, smart contract libraries, tools they use to build them, to test, and almost everything had to be done in-house. And people say, hey, why doesn't Maker just use X standard that every other project uses? And it's because those tools didn't exist back then. So Maker had to build almost everything that the tools that they work on day in and day out. And building those things, gave you a better insight into what the technology was that you were working on. So it's not just, hey, download this library, download this code, and you're good to go in 5 minutes to create something. No, we had to create the wheel and the cart and raise the horses, and to use an analogy. There was not a lot to do on the blockchain back then, because there weren't a lot of projects. There was no Chainlink, so I had to build the first version of the Maker oracles. And Maker, to this day, is probably one of the only projects that does not use Chainlink for price data, for example. And that's because when we went live on, what was it, late 2017, like December 2017, when we released the first version, Chainlink wasn't even on mainnet. Right. So we had to do our own oracles, right? I think it was Nikolai, the other co-founder. One day he sends me a message and it's like, hey, we need the price of Ether in dollars on the blockchain. Like, can you do it? Yeah. And I had no idea what an oracle was or what anything was. And we built something in like a couple of weeks that was good enough. But it was my interpretation of what an oracle, as decentralized as possible, was. And we ended up using that. And because nobody, I couldn't read any documentation or any white paper saying, oh, this is the way things are done.
Right.
So that was a good thing, like to explain those days at Maker. It was there were barely any tutorials, barely any videos on YouTube saying, now you can just type something and you get a ton of information. But back then there was none, so everything you did was most likely new and you were creating something. And I don't know, everybody at Maker, I think, felt that way strongly, that what we were building was unique and new. And you know, yeah, those first couple of years were probably the best. Then, you know, as always, the project grows. You get to a lot of people. There, a little bit of bureaucracy starts, you know, creeping in, and
of course,
many meetings, and you know, the dangers of regulation. So you have to start doing things a certain way to protect yourself. And Maker was one of the first projects that started as a DAO, then became a foundation, and then became a DAO again. The foundation closed after I had already left, but it was like a big milestone. So yeah, I don't know. I got like 100 stories, so I could speak about Maker all day, but yeah, those were some good times.
Oh, wow, that's just like pure creation with no reference. And I think that's a really rare yet unique experience that nobody can really have. And I think everyone kind of feels the same in a similar way in crypto, like back in 2017 and so forth. I think people feel like, okay, this is like all new, like big from scratch. There's no reference, no benchmark, right? And wow, the Oracle story is really amazing though.
And but, to this day, it's still being used.
I know.
And so we released version 2. And that was like one of the last things I did at Maker, and that is still used. So
wow,
yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. Oh my goodness. And I think people, I mean, Maker has been here for a long time, so people don't even recognize that it was a DAO, you know, it's a DAO. You know, I think that, the concept itself is like, okay, it's a foundation where it's like a company, but that's their impression on Maker. So that's how like solid it seems like, you know, to many people, I think, even to this day. So that's, I mean, I would love to hear your 100 stories, but 1,000 stories, but so, I mean, I think with the benchmark of Maker, I think it's a set a really nice standard for following projects. And, you know, the current stablecoin ecosystem has exploded, right? I think it's definitely exploring many other options and other models too. What do you think about the current like the space and the stablecoin, I guess, crowd? It's not like competitors, but I would say it's like a follow-up model or other, like what do you find impressive and what changed? Yeah, just curious about your thoughts on that.
I know that there are, so during DeFi summer, there were all these algorithmic stable coins, which most of them, I think, went to zero, except probably Frax. I don't know if Frax came out during that time. I was very impressed with the you know, Terra and what they've done with UST, because it's kind of like a Maker, if Maker has supported its own token as collateral, which I find a little bit weird and risky. But I don't know, the market doesn't seem to mind, and it's grown so much that usually when I think something and it's like, oh no, this is risky, turns out that people don't mind and it's fine. So yeah, I had my reservations. I think I still do, but I don't know. It's been working, so it's great. And I don't know a lot. There's been so many lately that I've lost count. But I like a few on Ethereum. Like I mean, I still like Maker, even though there's a lot of USDC collateral. So Maker is still, one of the few decentralized stablecoins. some people say, no, that's not the case anymore because it has centralized collateral. But I would argue that you can have centralized collateral and still be a decentralized stablecoin because of the voting process, everything. But I've seen a few liquidity with LUSD. I find that really interesting because it is an immutable system that they deployed, and it doesn't even have governance, and it's only backed by Ether. So it's kind of like Maker, but with some different redemption mechanisms. I love that one. Rye, of course. I find it extremely interesting because it also took a lot of things from the original Maker white paper, some of the control theory, and they didn't peg it to the US dollar, which is probably one of the only stable coins out there that did this. And now there's everybody's like taking things from different projects and building their own stable coins. So a project I angel invested in called Vesta, they just launched yesterday, and it is a fork of Liquidity, but it is multi-collateral and with governance. So and it launched on Arbitrum. So that's why I found it interesting, because it's launching on an L2, but then taking little bits from different projects. Even I, since I left Maker in 2020, I had ideas for launching my own stablecoin because everybody wants to launch one. And given what I've learned, I wanted to take what I liked from Maker and what I liked from Liquidity and what I liked from a couple of others and, build my own, because why not?
Yeah, I know.
But it's a lot of work, so I never did.
Just out of curiosity, like when you're building a stable coin, I mean, it requires different characteristics in terms of maybe structure compared to other like general coins, right? That fluctuate a lot. When you're building that kind of structure, what are some of the ideal requirements that are required or are preferred, or some, I guess, environmental requirement? I mean, like, I don't know, like some kind of standards that you require. Out of curiosity, what does it need what do you require when you're building?
Well, depends on the type of stablecoin that you're trying to build. So, you've got over collateralized, like Maker and Rye and LUSD, and then you got the somewhat like algorithmic matched with over collateralization, but not necessarily, I think, like Fay or Frax or some of the others. So in my case, I would think, what it does for peg stability, how it handles redemptions is something I look at. It's like, can I go from collateral to stablecoin back to the same amount of collateral easily, or do I have to go? So, for example, LUSD Liquidity lets you redeem anytime, while Maker you have to go through the market, and I don't know. Those are some of the things. How it handles liquidations, if it's, if that's the type of stablecoin that you're building that has those things. Even though I've lost track of some of the latest, improvements or new things that have been coming out. But I don't know. I need to read up. Maybe something new has popped up and I have no idea.
There's always new things popping up. Like we can never catch up completely. So I think when it comes to stablecoin, it's definitely connected to the mass. I think that they feel more, I guess, stable, or I guess protected, I would say, in terms of the payments. And so I think it kind of relates a lot to the mass adoption aspect that crypto is aiming for. In your thoughts, like where do you think we are in terms of mass adoption? Do you think it is the most important goal, or are we, you know, I think, as you mentioned, decentralization is definitely, you know, a very ideal, like important goal, but I think mass adoption, what do you think about, because, you know, in Argentina, for example, I think that can relate to your story there, but yeah, what's your take on the current situation on mass adoption? Do you think it can get better in some ways, or yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we're extremely early still, and people say it like, oh, you're still early, you're still early. The reality is that is completely true. It's we've been conditioned in this year 2022 that everything needs to happen instantly, and if we're not gratified, you know, that we don't get our dopamine hit after touching a button, and if nothing happens in a millisecond, then it's already too late and we're doomed. And I don't know, I'm 41 years old. I remember growing up without internet. You know, I had internet maybe in 94, 95 when I was 13, 14 years old. So I remember the world before and I know the world now. And it is true. I think we're going through the motions even faster than I thought we were. And I think we're gaining adoption rapidly. I think we haven't seen anything yet. This is going to explode big, and it's going to be part of everybody's lives, like the internet, even if they don't know that they're you know, relying on blockchain systems in the back. What we've seen with NFTs the past couple of years, I think it's just a hint of what's to come. But yeah, when people tell me, hey, it's been what, 7 years of Ethereum, 12 years of Bitcoin, and we still haven't blah blah, I say, yeah, exactly, it's only been 12 years. I mentioned this a lot of times, but one of my favorite magazines growing up was Scientific American, and there's a section on it called 50, 100, 150 years ago, because that's how long the magazine's been in print. So every month they show you articles that they were printing 50, 100, and 150 years ago. And you're reading tiny snippets from Scientific American from 100 years ago that talk about, you know, the Wright brothers experimenting on airplanes, or 50 or more years ago, people discovering DNA and, you know, things like that we take for granted. And if we think about it, if Scientific American keeps going, it's still, what, 35, 38 years until Bitcoin shows up for the first time.
Yeah.
So that's why I would say, when I say we're early, we are extremely, extremely early. A lot of things we may not get to see, maybe the things that, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of them we will. It's like, you know how we say the future, it's like we all thought there were going to be flying cars, but we have different things. I believe that we live in the future for sure. It's like we have technology that we never thought possible. So maybe some things will be different. I don't know if we are going to be able to walk into a Starbucks and pay with Bitcoin all the time. Like people say, yeah, Lightning, whatever. I don't, or maybe even with Ethereum. Maybe that's not going to be the future exactly, but it's going to be ingrained in almost everything else that we do. And I would hate for us to like focus on, hey, we still cannot pay for a sandwich with you know, my crypto wallet, but looking at everything else that's been going on, I think that we're on a good path.
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, I think like the DeFi space has exploded so rapidly and like unimaginably, so that the reality doesn't really catch up. It cannot catch up. Like, for example, the regulations, like it just cannot catch up. I think they're all astounded by what has been built and what's been experimented, right? I think you mentioned a little bit about regulation aspect, but you know, I think even in Korea, I think DeFi is definitely on the radar for some regulators. In your country, what's the case like in terms of regulation and DeFi? And do you think that it can be like it can overcome those, like, I guess, hardcore regulators, because it just seems like, they don't want to change the current structure. I think that's like the case for all regulators, to be honest. But what's your take on it? Because in my point of view, it's like the South Korean regulators are not like, they're lazy, so they don't want to change. Sorry, but
no, it's okay. I would say like here it's a little bit weird. We live with the DeFi a lot of people every day, and there's not still a lot of clarity to which is what the markets hate the most, right? It's like, okay, if you're gonna regulate, even if you're gonna go down hard on something, at least let me know, and
right.
Let me know what's going on. What markets hate is uncertainty, and we've seen that in a lot of places. Here, I would say the market is maturing. We have a lot of apps, a lot of exchanges, a lot of ways to easily now get your Argentine pesos converted into. I think there are projects that you directly buy like AUST, I think, which is like the interest-bearing UST that gives you, I don't know, 15% a year or something in interest, and that is wild. That you can go from 2 clicks to already earning yield in DeFi. I find that incredible. As to if that, I would say it's not illegal here because it's being used, and the projects are, talking to legislators, and I don't know. I fear that in places like here, like in Argentina, where capital controls can get very hard at points, and restrictive, especially with what's been going on this past couple of years, pandemic and recession, and the economy is not the greatest. It never is, but we're on the brink of collapse maybe. I fear what the legislators might do, but at this time, there's a lot of options for people, and it all mostly works. And I don't know, if turns out that the government starts blocking a lot of these things, then we're gonna start seeing why decentralization matters, because people will just use this technology the way I like to use it, which is underground, and a little bit fight the system, if I can.
I think it's a similar case in Korea too. It's kind of the gray area. I mean, it's on the brink of regulation, like taxation, for example. And I think people kind of take advantage of it because, like, okay, it's like ambiguous now. It's okay now, so just go for it until like they truly regulate. So I think, like, even for me, like, I'm launching, so like I'm like, what the heck? It's just gonna, it is what it is. So just go like straight ahead and see how it goes, right? So I think, as you mentioned, that's the current case for, I think, a lot of countries. We don't know, but we'll try anyway and see where it goes. But in the end, I think, as you mentioned, we're gonna hit this point where so many people are using crypto or trading crypto or investing in crypto, and it's just like inevitable. Up to a point where, like, they're all frustrated. Why aren't you, allowing crypto? Or so that's the current situation here. But thanks for the story. You said you're currently an angel investor, and you invest in a few projects. One of the questions from the community was, what do you mainly see in the team as an angel investor? I mean, you don't only look at, do you only look at DeFi projects, or do you look kind of like holistic spectrum? other
mostly it's been DeFi and NFT projects. Like I would say 98% of everything I invested in has been, because it is mostly what I know.
Yeah.
Couple of things have been, outside my comfort zone, just, as okay, let's learn a little bit about something else. But for the most part, it's been, and it started just, funding friends' projects, people that I knew from the community, or, people that were recommended by friends.
Yeah.
One of the good things about, being in this for so long is that, you make a big network of people, and a lot of people, and it's like somebody's starting a project. Oh yeah, I know who that is. I met them at a conference, so we shared the panel, or we follow each other on Twitter, or things like that. And the space was still small enough that that was the case. Now it's growing a lot, and I'll probably gonna scale back on angel investing in 2022, because I wanted to do it, just as a way to stay, have my finger on, Ethereum's pulse, and see what was going on. But it takes a long time. It takes a lot out of you if you want to be diligent, right? And have tons of calls, and help out when you can, and give advice, and it's exhausting as well. It's
yeah, of course,
but it is rewarding. I love it. It's really good, because you get to meet so many people and see what they're building, the future that is being built. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Then a follow-up question would be, what's your plan in 2022 if you step back a little bit from angel investing?
Yeah. I don't know. I keep changing my mind about things. It's on the one hand, I would love to do nothing but play golf and shitpost on Twitter all day, which is
that's a full-time job. No, that's a full-time job.
It is, and I really enjoy it. But I don't know. 2021, I thought about starting a couple of different projects, and one, we were with a friend. We were fairly advanced, and we were about to raise a seed round and everything, and then I stopped it. I said, like, no, I don't want to do it. It's becoming real now. So what I wanted was less responsibility and just enjoy life a little bit. But I don't know. I have ideas for tiny projects that I would love to just find the time to start developing and just put those out into the world. But with zero expectations, with zero money raised, it's just something that you release, and if it works, fine, and if it doesn't, then it dies out, and nobody's hurt by it, and nobody, So we'll see. Maybe it's only February of 2022. There's a lot of months left. Maybe we'll see.
That's the same mentality that I go for, that as you just mentioned. Yeah, like you raise like zero money, and you just take it as an experiment. You can toss it and then see how it reacts, the community reacts, and then you can switch it a little bit, but then nobody gets hurt, as you mentioned. I think that's the best unburdensome spirit that you can have on crypto, and also you can learn from the experience too. So it's like win-win for both. So yeah, that's what I'm going for in my project as well. So I totally agree with what you're saying. And that's a very good point. I think to enjoy crypto, I think that's one of the most ideal ways that you can definitely go for. So looking forward to your next small venture that you go for. But, not only in 2022, but like in your journey in crypto, you've been here for a while, but I guess it's too grand maybe, but what's your ultimate vision or goal? Like, how do you want to contribute to this space, or where do you see the space going as you contribute more? And do you care about education? I think you might have a passion for education too, but yeah, just want to hear your thoughts on your long-term goal or vision.
Yeah, I did. I don't know if I still do, but I loved for a while taking younger developers and teaching them a few things, or releasing a couple of videos saying, hey, this is how you do certain things, or trying to get them involved in building the next generation of tools and protocols. It is also exhausting to a point, because I love doing it when the community was a little bit smaller, but now it is growing so rapidly that it's hard. It's harder. For example, one of the saddest days was when I had to turn off DMs on Twitter, just because there were so many messages, and it came to a point where I just couldn't answer everything, right?
Interesting.
And then you think, okay, if you're not going to answer them, then why even keep them open, right? Because it's and at some point I said, okay, I'm going to close them. But for a long time, it was half of the DMs I got every day were, hey, how I saw a podcast, or I saw a video of you, or I saw a tweet, and I want to get started with Solidity, or I want to get started with Web3. And it would be me first, like, answering as many questions as I could. Then I had like a little template that I would just copy paste with, hey, you asked me about learning Solidity, so these are many resources that you can read and start with. And
interesting.
I don't know if I can find a way to scale that would be good. But
you should participate in, if you have the time, because like a lot of the Korean developers, I think like from Vietnam, for example, I think they need your word of wisdom. I think if there is any way that we can, transfer that in an easy way, because I'm trying to do so, and I'm trying to, like, because the knowledge transfer is not like, it's not easy, but it should be happening, because like there is definitely a gap, and there should be lessening up the gap. And so, just if you have the passion later on, maybe we can make it in a platform. But I think what you do in this space, and also on Twitter, because I love your tweets, are super, we're very grateful, and I'm, also a fan. But yeah, thanks for all the work that you do, and hope to see you in real form soon. But yeah, I'm looking forward to your next project, whether it's like small or large or whatever. But yeah, thank you for your insights. Thank you so much for your time as well.
No, Erica, thank you so much. I had a lot of fun.
Thank you.